Today on the ropes, I have the 2014 Golden Gloves champion, also National Outstanding Boxer that year, the 2012 National PLL champion, 2012 Outstanding Male Boxer, 2014 Golden Gloves champion, National Outstanding Boxer, #1 Open 141 champion of the state, 2015 High School Graduate Valedictorian, 2016 U.S. Olympic Trials champion. Currently 10-0 as a professional 10KO's, Gary Antuanne Russell. How you doing today?
I'm wonderful, my king.
Man, let's jump right into it, man. Being part of the dynasty of this boxing family, man, how important is family to you?
It means the world to me, you know, and a lot of the sacrificing that I do is primarily for that, for my family. You know, being a piece in the dynasty, one of the pieces within the dynasty that's being built by my father, Gary Russell Sr., my mom, and the family collectively. You know, I know that I have to hold my position down and play my role correctly, you know, throughout the whole entire duration of us doing it. You know, so it don't stop. It's something that's consistent.
With your father, you know, living in Trinidad neighborhood of DC, did he ever talk about life growing up there?
Oh yeah, he talked, definitely. You know, a lot of the stuff molded his mentality on just everyday life. You know, it was dangerous during the era he was alive, during the Trinity times, you know, and there was a lot of killing. At the time, that area was known as the murder capital. You know, so you gotta be looking over your shoulders 24/7, you know, every second, every minute of the day. You know, you can be walking into some crossfire. You can be walking into a situation you wasn't even caught up in, but you'll have to meet it head on if you're not careful. So he had to be careful 24/7, and that made him use his brain and his intelligence, you know, differently than a normal person. Now, I think that triggered down into us and into the way he molded us, his doctrine, you know. And it's a good thing because he got a world champion out of it, 2 world champions. If you include my oldest brother, Gary Jones, 2 Olympians, made us break history. He helped us, you know, break history records. Gary Russell Jr., he has the fastest hands in boxing, copybook records. There's never been 4 brothers to win the National Golden Gloves in history. There's been 3 brothers, European brothers, and that record has been held over 90 plus years. And due to my father's doctrine and his understanding and IQ of not just life but the sport of boxing, it helped us, you know, achieve these high goals.
One of the things that's so significant and unique about Washington, D.C., I'm talking about the old D.C., is being Chocolate City, we had our own sound with the go-go music. And one of the things that the family likes to talk about a lot is we do it for the melanin, our people.
Definitely.
How important is that to let people know about that?
I think that's a whole nother topic. It's so important. But in order for me to go in depth into a conversation like that or a question like that, it'll have to be something that's fully spoken on. I can't leave nothing out, you know, but to sum it up, which I wouldn't want to do, you know, because it's phases and steps you have to go through in order to understand things and make things come to life, come to fruition, you know. But as a culture, we are depleting due to the system, due to poverty, due to upbringing, and due to the lack of knowing. It's a lot of things that are against us, you know. And right now, one of the main things that's always been something is a financial thing, financial bracket. And when we stand that within the system, it works against us. You know, even when it comes to the home upbringing, you got the system, you got the parents, they're gonna be a parent because that's their job to do. You have the parents who go to work 9 to 5, by the time they get back, they worn out. You got the kids, they go to school from the morning time to about the same time the parents are about to get off, if not a little earlier. So they're home, the kids are home unsupervised or not being supervised by the parents, the one that's supposed to be conditioning them. By the time the parents get home, they worn out. Like I said, they worn out. They got to get their clothes ready to do it all over again. Only thing they can really be worried about or focus on is making sure you got a roof over your child's head, food on the table, and clothes on your kids' back. But that blinds them, that cycle, that work cycle, that parenting cycle, it blinds the parents from what's real and what's needed as far as the conditioning, as far as the molding.
You know, speaking on the conditioning, what are your thoughts on what you've seen with DC over the past couple of years with the gentrification and the moving out of our
It's
people?
been happening right in front of my eyes, just like my father told me, man. It's been a generation scheme. It's been something that's been going on before my time of existence. But I've awakening, and I see now. I see how things operate. I see how things work, and I see where we stand as a whole. Now, you know, a lot of people look at our success specifically, individually, and say, oh, the Russells, man, they doing their thing, man, I'm proud. But I be telling everybody that I encounter with, if I shine, y'all shine. We don't do this just for our immediate family. You gotta realize we done accumulated enough money to flee our area. We got properties in our area. Like a lot of property in our area, you know, and we renting them out, renovate them, flip them, because we know about the gentrification. We know about how these Europeans or these blacks or the projects is going to be getting fixed back up, making look different, making be remodeled. You know, we know these things. So a lot of the times when people look at our success and separate it from where they are, or from their success, it creates friction amongst the culture. That's what makes people start to look down on others. That's what makes people start to get desperate, trying to do crazy stuff to make ends meet for them and theirs. You know, we wouldn't want that to happen to anyone because we wouldn't want it to happen to us. We make sure we sacrifice, we grind, we sweat, blood, tears, all of that, just so we won't go through those type of things, you know. But unfortunately, everyone isn't fortunate to have the gifts that the Creator gave me and mine. I'm blessed to have a family that I have. I'm blessed to have the tools and the gifts that I have. Like you said, valedictorian, you know, I'm a boxer, 10-0, 10 knockouts. My talent is there, it shows.
You know, just, can I ask you that? Yeah, speaking on that, being the valedictorian, was college ever an option?
It was up until a point, you know, and then it kind of like came back and it still became an option, but not so much for myself, for my younger brother. You know, college came right at the same time as the Olympics came, the Olympic Games. So this was no longer the qualifiers anymore. I done already went through the qualifiers, you know, earned my position on the Olympic team. I done earned my position to compete, to become a certified Olympian on the Olympic team. I done went through that phase already. This is the Olympic Games. This is what costs you to get the gold medal, the silver medal, the bronze medal. During that time, I was graduating. I graduated, and the college diploma was there. The Olympics was here. I said, let me do the rundown. Let me step back and landscape. College, I go to school 4 years, 6 years. That's a lot of time that's just blown past, but within that time, I had to be studying. I had to be pulling strings to make sure I get out when I graduate and have a position for me to work. You know, so that's still more work that gotta get done after you done the 6 years of work. So I was thinking that's time consuming. I got the Olympic Games. If I win the silver medal, I'm good. If I win the bronze medal, I'm good. If I win the gold medal, I'm good. I got the talent to do it. It's right in my face. Both of them was in my face. So honestly, when it's all said and done, any profession that anyone on the face of the planet participate in, It's all for a financial stability. If I can get to that quicker, why not? And those was my options at the time. So I said, I'm right here. I can go to the Olympics, fight, win, and still come on and go to college if I please. You know, so, and that was where my mind was at when that happened.
You know, speaking on the Olympics, you know, I had a chance to watch a documentary that came out, I guess, 2 years ago, Counterpunch. And in that documentary, they were talking about with the rule changes, with no headgear and a lot of competition, you might have 6 fights in a week, and a lot of times you might get busted up. Is it really worth it going that route when now you got these promotional companies now grabbing up, signing the athletes, and they're not taking that route to go to Olympics? What is your thoughts on that?
It's up to the individual. I believe with great priority comes great gifts, you know, rewards. Yeah, and with those rewards, the sky can be the limit for some if they view or consume those rewards that way, in that manner. You got some people that'll get $1 and be like, oh, this is just $1. Then you got some people that'll get $1 and be like, man, I'm about to do something with this $1 and make more. You know, so like I said, with those great things that you can get back from your rewards by being disciplined, by doing what you're supposed to do, you know, you can make life form around those things. You can make something out of it. It's opportunity. It creates space for opportunity. You being obedient, doing what you got to do, is going to give you rewards, all positive rewards at that. If you get rewards from that, then you should know where you're supposed to be going from that point on anyway. It's like anyone that has a job, anyone that has a profession. You get to a point, you become the boss. After you become the boss, where do you go from there? It can be a mega billion-dollar company. You become the CEO. After you become the CEO, it's still a next phase for you to develop. You know, but before you became a CEO, you had to prioritize. You had to sacrifice. You had to stay devoted. And then that seat came, that CEO seat came. And with that CEO seat, a lot of more things came with it, benefits that create space for you to, you know, put together what you want to put together to make you more stable, whether it's financial, whether it's comfort, anything. You know, the same thing with any profession, any sport. You know, a person that's full-fledged, submerged in it, they should know where they stand at when they get to a certain point. And when they do get to that point, they should know where they should be going, propelling once they receive these gifts, these fruits of life from them breaking their backs, from them straining, them stressing, you know, them stunting. All these things you're supposed to get rewarded from, and I think that's a natural thing. That's with anything. You know, as far as me being a boxer, I know we go through the heat, we go through the long days and nights, we go through weeks, we go through years, we go through miscommunication, we go through arguments, we go through bad sparring days, we go through good sparring days, we go through sickness, we go through the fact that we don't even want to do it sometimes, but we got to do it. But those are all still sacrifices that you have to do if you're going to be fully submerged in a certain type of profession. But once again, that's with any profession. But I'm talking particularly about mine. These are the elements you're going to reach or meet dealing with boxing. You know, you could get a tooth loosened, could get stunned, hurt, killed, exactly. But these are still the things you're gonna have to meet. And once you do meet these things, you gotta realize yourself whether or not you wanna say leave it alone or keep going. I know where I'm positioned at. I'm in a great position. My oldest brother is world champion. I got another older brother who's undefeated. You know, he has a stellar record. And I'm right up under him. And I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. You know, and with that type of platform, foundation, the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit for me. I went to the Olympics. I should have enough people that has their eyes on me, that know Hey, this is Gary Antuanne Russell. He went to the Olympics. They robbed him. It was a big controversy going on about his decision. He should have got the gold medal. He beat the gold medalist, and etc. The people that was reffing the fight, they got paid something like $50 million. Then they did further researches on the judges and the officials. Found out they were dealing with some drug cartel members. So it became a criminal thing too. On top of that, you know, they fired all of the officials, got rid of them, but they never overthrew the decision. So it was a bittersweet thing. Like, what do I get out of it? It's a setback in my eyes. But by me being so devoted, so submerged, you know, I have no choice but to keep going forward or go get a 9 to 5. I mean, of course, I'm a landlord. I have my renter's license. I flip houses. That's what the family hustle is. We tell all these reporters all the time, boxing is what we do, but it doesn't define who we are. We strictly stay submerged purposely because we see that our culture is depleting for many different reasons. You know, and a lot of things, like many things, I would say re-police itself. It's like your parent tell you, don't do that. After a while, you get older, that trait stick there. You see another little kid, you be like, don't do that. That's sort of like re-policing to me. You know, you got an officer that comes and police.
We good.
You know, like you got officers, like I said, that come and police and enforce the law. Then you got people that come and try to reinforce it. A lot of these traits that's depleting us is being reinforced. And that's not a good thing. That makes it a cancer. Cancers grow. We see that as a family, as a Russell family, we see that. We don't do boxing just because we just like, oh, we love it. Oh man, which we do, we're great at it. We're good at it, we're great at it. It's so natural to us. It's a platform to show others how to open their eyes. That's our whole main focus dealing with boxing up to this point. We know that we got to make ends meet financially because we have to keep a living room. That's where anybody, no matter what you do, what sport you participate in, no matter what job you have, at the end of the day, you're going to have to make ends meet so you can be stable financially, have a roof over your head, clothes on your back, food to eat. That's one of the main things, self-preservation, when it's dealing with people. But we can't even provide for ourselves because of the state of mind we in, the state of conditions we in. And we believe that, you know, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes many to turn a problem upside down, you know, and fix it.
I think that's one of the disconnects that you find in the community right now. You don't have that sense of community in some instances, where in the past, the way when I grew up, a neighbor can discipline you and it's like, hey, don't do this, or whoop you and let your mom.
Right.
You can't find that today because times have changed, people have changed,
Definitely.
conditions have changed.
Conditions have changed. Like I said, my father was telling me a lot of stories back in Trinidad. It's a lot of killing. You know, people would do this to you, people would do that to you. They had short fuses. I was telling them that it's different back then. That was during the time people 17 years old, 18 years old was pulling up with Corvettes and stuff like that. But even that, like the school parking lot was looking like a teacher's parking lot. When it was the kids pulling up in these
I can attest to that.
right, Cadillacs,
going to Dunbar,
gold BBSs on their Beamers, all that stuff. That was a generation scheme. You know, they put the money out there, but that's when the 999 law came along, the mattress money and stuff like that. Where did those laws even come from? They knew that blacks, melanated people, was making ridiculous amount of money.
called the Catch-22.
Exactly.
At the same time, during the 80s, when they were flooding out communities with the crack and cocaine,
Purposely.
to make money for the wars in Nicaragua.
Purposely.
But on the back end, you're going to jail behind it.
Right. If you ain't going to jail, you're gonna splurge your money on a whole lot of nothing. Cars, clothes, diamonds, shoes, food, hotels. Repeat yourself. Cars, clothes, hotels, shoes. That's because they couldn't buy anything. They couldn't flip homes. They couldn't pay a house off and say, hey, I want to get certified and get my certification so I can become a landlord. They couldn't do that. Why? Because the government knew which moves and which strings was being pulled and what things was being placed. They put the money there, put the drugs there so the money can keep being repopulated. So they made lump sums amount of it, you know, at a young age. So if you probably did run across a smart, intelligent one that saved their money, and say, man, I'm gonna buy a house, I'm gonna buy a block. They knew they wasn't gonna be able to because you had to file in where the money came from. But during that era, everyone knew where the money was coming from. You know, so it was kind of like a war within a war. You know, even when they can't get the houses that they want, you know, that it forces people to do things that they wouldn't normally do. And by my family, man, being brought up under that type of literature, that tutelage, that type of understanding, all we do now is step back, take a view of the landscape and see how things is unfolding. You can put things together if you're aware, if you're way up here. You're smart enough to stay focused and stay astute. You will see how things is going to unfold. You will know how things is going to start, when it's going to start, you know, and how to get around all of it as well. You know, because you don't necessarily have to be stuck in the center of that. We know that we can be subjected to being stuck in the center by even taking the risk for our own culture.
Let me ask you, what's the book that's had the major significance on your life? The book that you read that's had a major significance on your life?
You know, I read many books, and a lot of them had many great viewpoints. I read The Art of War. I've read The Book of the Dead. You know, a lot of these are ancient books, you know, historical books. The Book of the Dead is about Mahat. Mahat is the way life is supposed to be, you know, and
a lot of what you found with the 10 Commandments comes from that.
Yeah, it was copied.
Yeah, very much.
You know, the 10 Commandments and religion and stuff comes after the whole pyramids and
see, our history is etched in those stones in the pyramids, which can never be erased. They tried to,
exactly.
But it can never be erased.
So you got a Johnny Come Late story that'll mimic it, flip it around a little bit. You know, it's still a good way of living because originally the pyramid walls is where it was at, and that's our stuff, our culture. That was always a good way of living. You know, and that's how we live. And we try to not get too far away from our roots, and we pull our energy from not just you. It could be you. It can be our PR person, Deshaun Yates. It can be one another, all our brothers. We gonna always pull energy from one of our own, but just staying rooted and waking people up that are lost. That also brings energy not just to us, but to whoever we touch, to whoever we bump into, whoever we have a conversation into. You know, and that's the main goal for us. You know, we use this as a platform.
You know, speaking of that, you know, I want to go back to Gary's ring walk with Quasi Davis leading the way with the drums. It was for our culture. Definitely,
and if you pay attention, and say number 9 is the number that repeats itself. It's the only number. It's like if you times it by anything, it'll always equal up to itself. So it's kind of like a mystery about that. It's a special thing or significance dealing with the number 9. And we had the guards. It was 8 guards lined up. Then you had Junior and Quasi Davis walking, they made 9. You had Junior in front, which would make 9. But of course, we had our young one as well, because what we're doing now is an invisible war. But even though it's a war is war. When you look up war, if you was to go in a dictionary or the internet and look up war, you'll see deaths, you'll see people fighting, you'll see negativity, you'll see chaos, you'll see a lot of messed up stuff. But one thing you cannot forget is even our little ones is subjected to it. They born into it, you know, and a lot of us are. That's what I meant by, you know, certain things being reinforced. Even the bad traits get reinforced. If we keep getting reinforced and become a cancer and grow, and it would touch our young ones, our youth.
I've definitely seen that. Being for many years, worked as a mortician over at Pope Home in Southeast, so I saw that on daily. The casualties of war that can happen in our communities on a daily, also being a part of the community also as well. So I definitely know what you mean when you speak on that.
You know, but all in all, I definitely can't give up my realness for my people, because we are a people of rhythm, you know, joy, harmony, harmonious vibes, you know, so I can definitely talk to people in many different fashions, as far as connection-wise. If you're just a straightforward speaker and you got to be spoken to a certain way, I can do that. If you're intellectual and you like to be talking in big words, I can do that. You know, if you're real short, direct, I can be short and direct to you. But all in all, it's our job to find that middle ground, so we can be able to meet, you know, as far as color to color. We don't like our own. You know, we got some messed up people of our own, you know, but we know it's a reason behind it. It wasn't like you just came out and you just that way. No, it's impossible.
It comes through years of conditioning.
It definitely comes through condition. You turned out the way you are through conditions. I turned out the way I am through condition. You know, it don't change. This is a universal thing. You know, people grow out to be who they are with those characteristics that they have based on the fact of how they were molded, how they were conditioned, how their upbringing was. We are the only race of people, the only group of people that have a bad upbringing, like a real bad upbringing.
Because we were stripped of our name, our heritage, our culture.
Culturally, our history with they say with knowledge comes power. You know, and if everyone was collectively, they knew that, so they put us against one another. Okay, Chinese, or Chinese versus black. Oh, he Korean versus Chinese. Still the same blood lineage. Still the same blood traits. Our DNA is so strong. We got more of ours born, being birthed, and it's more of theirs at a death rate. They got a sea salt when they have a child, when they procreate. That's what the epidural shot is for. So they could. Our insides, it has an intelligence. When you get sick, your inside tell yourself, man, something ain't right. So it fights it. It cures it and it comes out.
But what you find, it's funny that you say that, because what you find now with the way we cure ourselves now is through the pharmaceutical companies, because they make so many billions of dollars masking something that our body can do naturally if you find the right fruits and vegetables.
Tell me about it. But even with that, they know that. They know Dr. Sebi let it be known. Mm-hmm. He didn't cure people with AIDS, cure people with cancer, and etc.
For myself, I had a heart condition. I was at 250 pounds. I decided to go vegan for a year. And next thing you know, I was off all the hot medicines, high blood pressure, Eliquis. It's just a lifestyle change. You don't have to take those pharmaceutical medicines, which are destroying your body
Not
anyway.
at all. Put it like this, the way I look at it very simple. You're not the only one in the world that had a heart problem before. Meaning, they ran into someone that had the same conditions as you, did studies, did tests. They fixed them, they healed them, so they know what the problem is. So if you was to run into that same doctor or the same hospital or be in the same area with the same type of conditions, it shouldn't be no doubt in your mind that they know how to cure you. So why are they taking you through phases you don't have to go through?
It's money.
It's money. And that goes to show you the full depth in which they're willing to go. They're willing to put our lives at stake just for some paper. We're the same ones that are willing to give so you can be healthy, strong, smart like us. But when we give, it's like in return is negativity, hatred.
I want to ask, what are your thoughts on the state of boxing right now?
In the state of boxing, I believe it's about to take another toll, a shift. Like the seasons, leaves fall off, new ones grows on. You got the old timers that's still going on. And I wouldn't call them old timers because they still young. I believe you're supposed to retire in boxing. I believe around 30, 34, 32, 33 probably. At that age, you should have accumulated enough to be satisfied. You know, you don't put your body through torture, you don't put your brain through torture, and you play with death. You know, you just play with death all around the board. And you've been doing it for a long duration. That's half of your life, dang that. 30 years.
I guess what my question about that, what I was asking was, is it hard to get where you want to accomplish quicker because of the state of boxing right now with so many different fascists and promotion companies where you can't get those fights or move up the way you want to because of the politics behind it?
You know, the whole promotional thing, no, I mean, it gets frustrating because, like I said once before, you put your body, you know, through a lot of stress. You do this, you know, for majority of your life. You putting in time that you can't get back. You got people that's been doing this since they've been 6 years old. When I went to the Olympics out of Rio de Janeiro, I was fighting people that was at least 29, 30 years old, still fighting amateur, not professional, amateur. That means that was their life savings.
That's almost like how Loma was,
Exactly.
Lomachenko was.
But a lot of these guys wasn't surpassing Loma. They didn't have the skills Loma had. They didn't have the team Loma had. They didn't have the background Loma had. You know, but all in all, it's still a life savings that they done put in boxing. So it's a gamble within itself right there. You know, dealing with the promoters, you got certain fighters that they want to make a star. They can create a star. You know, so you got the promoters that have certain fighters that they want to make into a star. And once they make them into a star, they want to keep them a star because they got to make their ends.
That's how they make their money.
Right. So they got to have a poster boy. They got to have this. They got to have that. In order for them to do it, they need people, period. They need people that's going to participate in the sport of boxing.
Is it hard once you get that one loss? Because people always talk about that one loss.
It is.
But J-Rock
it depends.
talked about that. He was like, man, you can't count a person out at the one loss.
You know, and I'm glad you said that because I spoke to him and I also just recently spoke to Jerry Hurd. I told him, man, it ain't done. It ain't over. Your run ain't over. It's a marathon. This ain't no 100-yard dash. It ain't no sprint. It's a marathon. He was like, man, thank you, champ, man. I wish you the best of luck. I said, I wish you the best of luck with your career. It's still going. So don't get lackadaisy and think that it's done. No, it's not done. People still know you. If you want to continue doing it, you still can. If your ends ain't meeting financially, you know what you got to do. Are you going to continue being an athlete, an entertainer, or are you going to go get a 9-to-5? Those are the options he's left with, and that's what I was basically telling him, you know, because our humanity is at stake when it gets to a certain point in time too. You know, you might just have to cut everything out, boxing and all of that, and you might have to be forced to get a 9-to-5 or forced to get a certain type of job, just so you can get back on your feet. You have people that straining themselves, their growth, stunting their growth, just to stay amateur. Like I said, when I fought in the Olympics, I was fighting people 30 years old, 29 years old. That means they was devoted to staying an amateur because the Olympics was the highest, you know, pedestal that you can really get on as an amateur. Of course, you have the scouting going on. You got the whole wardrobe sponsorships.
And that was my whole point. What I
Yeah,
was
the
making
whole-
about the whole Olympics, where you find now a lot of the young boxers are getting those calls from the promoters. Hey, sign with me. I give you this big bag now. Forget the going that route to the Olympics.
You know, you gotta, like I said, you gotta step back and view your landscape. But this is how I've been brought up, you know, so this is how I think, you know, and everyone that's around me. And hopefully, whoever I touch or communicate with, I'm able to instill some of that, you know, within that little period of time.
Going back to that class with you with the Olympics and Shakur Stevenson, and you see right now they're going to get their shots
Definitely.
at the title. Is that frustrating for you? Do you want to be at that step right now in your career that you're getting those same type of opportunities?
It's inevitable for me to get those same opportunities. I wouldn't rush it.
Do you feel you're looked
growth.
at differently?
What's that?
Do you feel you're looked at differently?
Would I look?
No, I said, do you feel they look at you differently? The promoters, when,
I mean,
like you said, they
I'm
have
pretty
a
sure.
face that they want to be.
Of course. Hey, baby. Of course, of course. You said, what's that? It's the bench press bar.
Bench press.
Come on, let me finish talking, okay? Okay? I'll be over there. Nah, like I said, yeah, they do have their picks as far as whom they want to be a poster child. Like I said, in order for you to sell something, you have to make the product known. That's all they doing. As far as who they pick, it varies. I was just not lucky enough to be one of the ones. I'm not saying that I can't take that position with the talent that I had
exactly.
that's been instilled into me by my father, my brothers, and etc. I can do that. But once again, growth is something that you would not want to rush. And you got a lot of fighters that's rushing. They rushing towards stuff, and they don't understand everything yet. I want to be the one that understands, you know, the full map, the blueprint of how stuff operates, how things go, and we can take one step at a time. And
Because you have that guidance of someone like your father, that makes it easier for someone like you to take that time. Like for others that might not have it, you see that rush process and sometimes they get caught up. But with you have that solid background of with your father always having given you the knowledge and the understanding.
Definitely, yeah.
When would you like to have that opportunity to get a shot?
If it was up to me, I would say now. I would say now, just because I know what comes with it. You know, and it's more than just the money. I know what type of pedestal I will be on. I know what type of luxuries I will be able to have access to. once again, this is what we do, but doesn't define who we are. We use this as a platform to show people what we want them to see.
About the greatness of our melon.
About the greatness of our culture, the greatness of our history. We have a vast, long, thing of history that no one knows. And they downplay it. Even when it shows, it peeks out, accidentally, by the ones that don't fully know or not close to their roots. Shows and flares, but the ones that know that's close to their roots and are aware, they're dangerous. It makes them dangerous when they're on those level pedestals, those type of pedestals.
How you think promoters feel about you being such a smart, intellectual young man who knows about his history and culture?
I feel like they would look at me as a nuisance.
I was gonna say that.
If anything, I wouldn't say a promoter would want whoever they're doing business with to be stupid or dumb to the fact or dumb to the matter of business, but they would want to get all that they can. They done putting the work in like we are. Different type of work, different lane, but they still got to put in the time that they would not get back. And if they putting in that much amount of time, of course they're gonna want to make sure that they get their just due. And by me being intelligent, and knowing my worth, crossing my T's, dotting my I's, it'll be a hassle for them to try to explain something that don't make sense. And by that being a hassle, eventually they wouldn't want to deal with a person like me. I can be completely correct where I'm coming from about the business. I'm not disrespecting you in any form or fashion. But all in all, you don't like me because you see that I know. And in order for me to collab with you, you will be losing. I wouldn't be losing. I would be getting what I deserve. But you'll be looking at it like you taking a loss because you're not getting more. You're getting the same. And that's the mindset a lot of the promoters have. Gladly, I have, a firm relationship, a firm connection and bond with my promoter. I call him Charlie. Like Charlie's Angels. Yeah, you always hear about Al, but you never see him. But
What's your thought on Mr. Al Hayman? I would say definitely one of the smartest in the business. I actually had a chance to see this documentary called The Black Godfather with Clarence Avant. They made several mentions of Mr. Al Hayman.
Of course. No, and I'm aware of that. I watched it myself. The Black Godfather, they touched on a lot of specifics, and those was key points. They was touching on key points. They wasn't just brushing past, conversations. They was touching on a lot of key points, and those things are traits that Al Hayman has, and he's a master at them. He makes sure he conditions himself to not forget about those things, like how fighters train repetitiously, go through slip drills. Bring that hand up, bring that hand up, bring the hand up. Make sure I slip, make sure I slip, make sure I slip. When they get in the fight and they in front of their opponent, they throw something off through that repetition, training. They block the punch. Unknowingly, it's like second nature. Because that's what you've been working on. Block, that's what you've been working on. So when you gotta...
The mind memory.
Right, the muscle memory.
The muscle memory.
The mind muscle memory, and that's what I'll do, and these are things that's second nature to him, because that's his lane. We're learning a lot of it. He introduced us to a lot of it. Vice versa. My father being as old as he is, he had 60 plus years of wisdom, and a lot comes with that wisdom. It ain't just he's wise because he's old. No, he's been in some things, he's seen some things. He done saved some stuff from happening. So he's very astute, very intelligent. You know, a lot of life lessons he done went through with those 60-odd years. That's what makes him wise. That's where the wisdom comes from, you know. But my father, he tell Al certain things that he see from his viewpoint, and they give the whole ping pong effect, you know, and they just dialogue that away. And I'll look at my father as a stand-up guy. He done helped Junior, that's now the world champion, WBC world champion at 126 pounds. He done started his career from finish to end. He's still dealing with him. Al Hayman made it where as though Junior was the first 4-round fight ever to be on Showbox. But yeah, on Showbox. Was it Showtime or Showbox? Showtime. Ever. Televised. That's never been done. A 4-round fight televised on Showtime. It's never been done. You know, so my father and Al has a great bondage and connection. You know, they understand one another, and they understand one another because mentally they're on a different level. They're on a different page than a lot of the masses in the world. You know, I believe people has to have connection and chemistry. You know, it's one thing to connect with a person, but to have chemistry to be able to continue working with a person is a totally different thing. You know, my father, Al, has both. Everybody can't hang around everybody for a long duration, a long period of time. Some people you gotta take in dosage. You gotta be around them for only a period of time. And then after that, you gotta separate yourself because you know it's gonna be something negative out of it. It's gonna stop being friction, and from that friction, it's gonna lead somewhere else. So you gotta take yourself from the situation before you get to that point. Al and my father has the understanding of as though they would never come to that point, whereas though they had to separate themselves from one another's lives. We help him, we help him. We keep him on his toes, he keep us on our toes. We share our wisdom, he share his wisdom. You know, we ask him about his mom all the time. He loves his mom. He see how family oriented we are. And he's the same. He's devoting his life to his promotion, being the promoter. You know, so a lot comes with that. You gotta prioritize things and be devoted into doing just that, staying prioritized. You know, and with that, it becomes lonely. So he devoted his life into something that's not even attached to him, which is his job. You know, and in order to keep it going, he gotta, you know, be even more in depth into it, making him take away from his time with his family. So a lot of the times he making sure he calling his mom, you okay? All right, well look, I'm just getting to the meeting. He telling his mom every little step he make, every move he make, every place he go. He's telling his mom, make sure he's talking to his mom, because he know how much away from home he's always is. You know, and like I said, that's what makes people turn out the way that they are, because of the upbringing, because of the rules that are being reinforced, the parenting ain't being correct, the area being bad, all of that stuff, it takes a toll on a person. You know, you can't sit here and tell me that it wouldn't.
You know, one of the things that you talked about was, you know, boxers should have a short career. It should end around 30, 31. You're with 10 fights in. How many fights do you see yourself having in your career?
Oh, a lot more. That can still change because sometimes you can be working on having more fights within a shorter period of time. And you can probably take off and change and say, well, look, I want to be able to have about 5 fights by the end of this year. Or you can just say, I'm going to take the fast line. Look, let's get about 10, 11, 12 fights before the year's up. You can do that if you categorize it the right way. After each fight, you have to have a layoff medically.
I was going to say, does that take a toll on the body and the brain?
Yeah, it's mandatory for you to take a layoff after a fight. you know, what, a 7-day layoff, a 9-day layoff. But that's little of nothing, you know?
Interesting that you say that, because when you go back to the Olympic trials, you can have, with no headgear
4
on.
fights back to back.
So how is
I
that
fought
possible
from the
that you would do
losers
that
bracket.
to an amateur, but they don't do it in the pros?
Exactly.
Explain that.
Exactly. You know, I believe they under a different doctrine. You got IBA boxing, then you just got professionalism boxing. Total different networks, you know. And under each network banner, you got different rules and regulations. That's as simply as said. That's as simple as I can put it.
There's no,
don't
like in
make
other
sense.
sports, it's you know, they have one league. In boxing, there's no one league. You have different sanctioning bodies. So when is it going to get to that point? Do you ever see it at that point where it'll just be one body?
I doubt it.
Doubt it. Because of
doubt
the
it.
money factor.
Not even
And-
just, that's the main
Main thing, yeah.
That's the main thing, you know, because it's almost like, even though they're amateur, it's still like they're working together off some collaboration type of thing, package. Your amateurs, you can only get to the Olympics at your highest achievement as far as an amateur. So you're doing nothing but prepping these amateurs for the pros. So as long as you prepping for the pros, I'ma always have business. Cause I'ma always have some occupants. You know, you understand what I mean?
Almost like the AAU cycle.
Right. Right. So that's how that goes. But it don't make sense. I fought from the losers bracket to win my position. I had to fight 6 times back to back. First night I lost. Fought from the losers bracket, had to fight every day, all the way out to the last day.
I think only a very few did that. Yourself,
My
Floyd.
brother, myself, Gary Russell Jr., Floyd, was it Mike Tyson?
No, Holyfield, and
I wasn't
Roy Jones
Muhammad-
Jr.
Roy Jones. I was about to say Muhammad Ali. Roy Jones Jr. So only 5.
Yeah.
Only 5. You know, so that's spectacular within itself there. But once again, I can't never blow that up or magnify that too much, because you got people that hate, be jealous. And me, knowing myself, I wouldn't want to belittle anyone anyway. So just clapping on my own back is somewhat of a belittling people. No, I can't have that. I can't let that be seen. I can't let that type of feeling be produced, because I want something positive to blossom.
Let me ask you, one of the signature questions I like to ask people is the toughest thing that they've been through in their life and how did they overcome it? So I wanted to ask that. What's the toughest thing that you've been through in your life and how did you overcome it?
I don't think I've been through the toughest thing in my life yet. I got a family that's supporting me. I'm doing good in the sport of boxing. I did great in my academics. Still young. I still got all my siblings. I'm having nieces and nephews that are growing up bad but smart as ever. You know, and
Well, let me ask you then. Going back to that Olympics where you got robbed, would you say that was a tough pill to swallow?
it definitely was. I won't ever forget about that. Ever. I can never forget about it. That was my time to take my area, put it on my back, and haul it across the finish line. I put them on my back and I fell short. I would never forget that, ever. I came home with nothing. All of that work, all of the training, all the sweating, all of the blood, all the stress, came back with nothing. I would never forget that. My father, he put a picture on the wall for a reason. He said, see that? If you'd have threw that punch right, you'd have got that medal. The boy would have been on his backside, and they would have been raising your hand. So, tough pill to swallow, definitely.
As we wrap things up, man, what would you like people to know about Gary Antuanne Russell?
Know
the
that
last.
I'm I'm young, I'm handsome, I love the fruits of life, man. and I just try to nourish my culture, you know. Anyone out there that's trying to be spectacular in anything they do, just know that they can do it. Consistency is key, no matter what people tell you.